Welcome to Empower with Nancy's podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration, motivation, and leadership insights to help you feel empowered and equipped and live a life of fulfillment one day at a time. Welcome to Empower with Nancy's podcast. So today's episode, I'm going to talk about lasting and healthy marriage. This one I'm really going to enjoy talking about. And there's definitely going to be a part 2. And that part 2, I'm going to invite my husband to be my guest. And we're going to share about our marriage. We've been married for 29 years, but been together a total of 34 years. And we had such an amazing life together. We definitely have an amazing life together. And we've gone through our ups and downs. And we're going to talk about that in part 2 so that we can be very transparent and open and honest. And it's going to be extremely exciting. So what am I going to do today in our episode? I'm going to prep you all and kind of give you the basic foundation and how my husband and I, the secret sauce to really staying together as long as we have. Because nowadays, you don't see people staying together no more than 5 to 10 years. Once they get married, they get a divorce for all kinds of different reasons. So I really want to share with you what we know that works for us. Now, it may work for us, but may not work for some of you. But you're going to learn a lot. We are going to be very, again, transparent. And I hope this episode finds you well. So let's have fun and dig right into it. First and foremost, my husband and I got together. My husband's 7 years older than I am. And I met my husband when I was 20 years old. I wasn't even 21 years old. And you're thinking, okay, he was 6 years older than you. Oh my goodness, he was rocking the cradle. No, it wasn't. I had just ended a long-term relationship and I really wasn't prepared to jump into another one. But I met my husband through my brothers. And I remember one day my brothers came to me and said, hey, would you like to go out with, their friend? And I said, no. And at that point, my husband rode a motorcycle. And so, he became a professional road racer. And those are the bikes where you see that go 150 miles an hour around a turn and her knee is scraping. So that I'll go into another story with that because that's another amazing component to our marriage. First and foremost, you might feel like I'm kind of going a little all over the place, but I'm going to get to the root of this episode. So the first thing is communication. Communication is key. It's effective. And when you don't have open communication it doesn't have to be a marriage. It could be in any relationship. If you're not transparent with your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, whoever it is, if you are not, it will not last. No ands or for buts. Bottom line, no communication with the two of you will not last. The most important thing is when sometimes we feel like, gosh, I just don't want to even have to talk about it. And you just shut down and you just push it to the side and you guys don't talk about any of the struggles. So the communication is not just with struggles, it's happiness, the challenging times that both of you go through, and good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter. So key is communication at all times. That is the number one secret ingredient. The other thing is trust. Do you trust each other completely? And are you transparent about your feelings, your thoughts, and your actions? If you don't trust one another, that is definitely going to put a strain on your relationship. You can't pretend that you trust. You have to outright trust. And if you don't, and you have that fear in the back of your head that you're worried that they're going to cheat on you, that they're going to do things behind your back, that they're texting another person, or they're going to go out with their friends at a bar behind your back, and that's all you're worried about, is that starts with trust. So I want to share something with you. And sometimes my friends think, oh, you guys are crazy. But when my husband and I, if we're out at a local bar and grill and we are sitting at the bar and, we may have, a cocktail and we're having our food or appetizers, and there's people surrounded all around the bar, right? So the ones that are close to you. If another man talks to me while we're sitting at the bar, my husband is right there. I'll join a conversation and talking to this other person as long as it's respectful, right? And then vice versa for my husband. If a woman is sitting next to him and this woman is talking to my husband, so be it, as long as it's respectful. Because guess what? My husband and myself, we're going home to each other. If you fear and throw up the jealousy guard, then being jealous within a relationship will definitely tarnish and ruin it. It won't last. It will be a very struggled relationship. So those are just kind of examples that I like to share with you, because I remember our friends would be like, why is he talking to that girl? And then they go, why is she talking to that guy? Okay, that's fine, as long as they don't touch each other and they're respectful conversation. Because at the end of the day, the conversation ends up coming with, my husband's involved in their conversation and I'm involved in his conversation. And, it's a great outcome. Not too long ago, my husband loves to go to eat pizza on Thursdays. Now we don't go every Thursday, but he likes us, going to have pizza. And so we always see this one gentleman that literally is there almost every single day. And a few weeks ago, we sat at the table and, we said hi, we were talking, and my husband and I are just doing our thing, having our conversation, talking about our day and work and all that good stuff. So enjoying our conversation. Toward the end of the evening, he leaned over to us and said, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you guys a question? We're like, sure. They're like, I want to let you know that I admire your marriage, your relationship. I can see it in your guys' eyes. Every time you guys come in here, I always watched. How do they communicate? And I have to tell you that I admire your relationship. And so how do you do it? What's your secret sauce? And, my husband and I looked at each other and say, there really isn't a secret sauce other than we just love each other. We're honest with one another. We communicate with one another. We laugh and laugh and laugh. We just enjoy our marriage because we marry. And when we married and said our vows, we're married until death do us part. And that is how I was brought up. That is how my husband was brought up. But we're not doing it because of the way we were brought up. It's true love. Now, again, we've had our ups and downs. There's times where I just wanted to strangle my husband, at times where it's just like, ugh, you get so frustrated. And I remember when we moved out together, we lived with his dad for a little while, and then we got our own apartment before we had our first child. I was with my husband 4.5 years before he proposed to me. And I said, you know what? My biological clock is ticking. And if I don't get engaged by 5 years, I don't know what I can do. Like, I need a ring on my finger. So it wasn't pressure, but, we look back and laugh about it. So we moved in together, and my husband is a perfectionist. Everything has to be in its place. Everything has to be super clean. And when we first got together and moved into an apartment together, I would clean, and I was brought up with my mom was a clean freak. So I remember every Friday we used to have to get on our hands and knees and wash the floor and so on and so forth. So I would clean, I would vacuum, my husband would re-vacuum. I would wash and fold his clothes. He would refold his clothes because his white t-shirts had to be, the arm part of it had to be facing a different direction. So just that in itself can get very irritating because you're thinking, okay, I'm your wife. I'm supposed to clean. I'm supposed to wash the clothes. I'm supposed to fold your clothes, make the dinner. But we work as a team. So it's just not all me doing it. We work together. So those are just some examples that I wanted to share with you all without giving everything away on part 2 of this episode. So the other thing is like shared values. We share similar core values and beliefs, and it's the foundation of our relationship. He was brought up differently than I was brought up, 100%. And I remember when we first got together thinking, how's this going to work? Because I was brought up with lovey hug, I love you, and, I'm so grateful. And we always had big family gatherings, and birthdays were just like, oh my gosh, a huge celebration. My husband's side of the family, it's not. So, and that's one part of that I had to learn. Another thing I want to talk about is individual growth within our relationship. And we want to be supportive of each other's personal growth as well as our development within ourselves, within our relationship. Because as you're growing together and learning so much, you learn something every day with one another. You're going to go through personal growth with career, or as you're getting older, you change and you just learn how to communicate with the developments that we go through on an individual basis. So, and being open to listening their suggestions and their thoughts and their struggles. And that is key in a relationship, especially like when you come home from work and you had either a good or bad day and you just sit there and talk about your day. Do you want to come home and sit down and talk to your significant other? Or do you come home and you don't talk about your day? Or if you want to talk about it, but you think and you already believe, or you have this thought in your head, you know what, they're not going to want to listen. Or if you sit down and talk to your spouse or significant other about it, and they're just watching TV and not paying attention to what you're saying, and there's no eye contact, that's not communication. If they're watching TV, put the TV on pause, face me, look at me, and let's have an adult conversation, right? So if you feel that it's going through one ear out the other, you need to be honest and say, you know what, can you just put the TV on pause and just look at me and let's talk about our day? Because sometimes you had such a rough day and you just don't even want to have a conversation. And if you feel that way, you don't always have to come home and talk about your day. If you both feel like you don't want to talk about it, then you don't want to talk about it. The other thing is quality time. My husband and I do date night once a week. Usually our date nights are Friday nights where we go out to dinner locally or take a drive somewhere and have a nice dinner. And we just spend the quality time. Sometimes we spend it with just ourselves. Majority of the time it's ourselves, or we call our friends to get together and we meet them somewhere. But it's the quality time with the two of you is really important. Now, I'm not saying date night, you need to do it weekly, but at least have, especially for like newer parents, what I mean is you're just starting a family and you have babies and you're growing your family, that you have date night at least once a month or every other week. Super, super important to spend quality time with the two of you only. Even if you go have someone babysit your children and you come home and have movie night, make dinner, and just have fun. Veg out on the couch and do movie night. That sounds so relaxing and so fun. Doesn't always have to go out to a fancy restaurant or what have you. Whatever floats your guys' boat. The other thing is intimacy. In maintaining a very healthy level, emotional, physical intimacy in a relationship is important. Feeling the love, the affection. I know it's important, especially for us, women from time to time, where, tell me I look beautiful today, or gosh, I really like that outfit on you, or your hair looks good. Does it have to be every day? No. Put a special little note on my car and say, I love you, or just an outright text. Hey, babe, I was thinking about you. I love you. Have a beautiful day. You're amazing. And you know what? That is what my husband and I do. Now, I will be honest, the note on the car, that went away years ago. That usually happens in the beginning of a relationship. So that went away a long time ago. However, he does take the time out of nowhere to send me a special little text or giving me a call to say how much he loves me, and vice versa. That's super important in this arena of your relationship. But having the love and the affection and, spending that quality time, again, as you're just starting a family, you don't have that everyday intimacy. Maybe it's a few times a week or whatever it is without getting into all the details, but you guys get it. The other thing is conflict and resolution. When you have conflict, if you have an argument about something, it's not about who is going to get the last word. When my husband and I first got together, we both hate drama. We do not like to argue, but sometimes you have to stir the pot a little bit from time to time to cause a little, disagreement. We used to do that, or not we, I used to do that years ago. I don't do that at all anymore. It's been a very long time. But when we first got together, he just didn't want to have an argument. We just never argued. And sometimes I would stir the pot a little bit to start an argument. And he would say, are you trying to start an argument right now? Because it's not going to go anywhere. So he stopped me in my tracks, which I love, because I love it when you take control and don't tell me what to do, but tell me what to do. So, when you have those disagreements, never go to bed mad at each other. Say goodnight to each other. Say, I love you before you go to sleep, because tomorrow's never guaranteed. So don't ever go to bed. My advice to you all that have a relationship, don't go to bed mad. Say you love each other, go to sleep, and try to resolve that argument before you go to sleep. Just sometimes we have to put the emotions, set it to the side, because I know with women, sometimes we just want to go to the jugular and say mean things and And then one thing leads to another, and it becomes this whole emotional argument. It's not worth it. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my energy on it. Just let it go. You have to learn when to walk away. If it gets so intense, walk away or take a drive somewhere if you know it's going to go in a bad direction. Very strongly advise walk away if it gets too bad. And that's a problem where, in relationships, they just want to go one after another, after each other, say mean things, and then they start cussing at each other. That's the other thing. Call me old school, but never raise your voice at me. Never call me a name, ever. I never ever went through that with my husband. He's never told me to shut up. He's never called me a name, never disrespected me in that way. Because if a man was to ever tell me that, it's done. Honestly, that's just the way I am. Doesn't always resonate with everyone else, with other women. But you cuss at me, you call me names, and you raise your voice at me, doesn't work with me at all. So if this does happen in anybody's relationship where you guys are calling each other names, you need to put a stop to that. Because guess what? It doesn't resolve anything. It only feeds to the fire and makes it worse. So I hope that you take this advice. The other thing is adapting to changes within your relationship and in your lives where you go through the financial struggles, you go through career changes or stressful times at your work, and stressful times raising a family. It's not easy. However, you make it difficult. It doesn't have to be difficult. And I know it's easier said than done, but it truly does not. Work together as a team, have fun with it, because our kids grow up very fast and we can never, ever go back in time to fix anything that we had experienced where we felt that, I probably should have spent more time with my children and we didn't. So embrace it, enjoy it. And because next thing you know, they're off to college or they move out. And then at this point in time, my husband and I, our kids are grown up and we're like, gosh, do they need us anymore? They do need us. We have one grandchild, another grandchild coming, and then my son will be off to getting married down the road. And then it's just my husband and I. So it's kind of like starting all over again from when we first got together, but just in a different chapter of our lives. That's what's super exciting, because guess what? We look back and say, look at all the struggles. Look at all the great times. Look at all the challenging times we got through it because we did it as a team. We worked together as a team. So lastly, I'm going to talk about sharing your goals. We commonly share goals in our dreams together. I have certain dreams, my husband has certain dreams, but then our dreams come together. And I'm a very driven woman. He's a very driven man. We're very positive. We're very determined. We know what we want in our life and we conquer it together. So whatever dreams that we've dreamt of, we made it happen. When my husband and I, really quick, when my husband and I first got together, I didn't have a job. He didn't have a job. And we said, what the heck are we going to do? But my husband started a job, and I think his was like $3.75 per hour, and I was around the same amount. And then we just start climbing up the ladder, and we look back and we say, gosh, remember the top ramen days to now we have a beautiful, healthy family. We have a phenomenal relationship. We have a beautiful home. I have my own business. My husband works for a phenomenal company, and we're just working together to conquer our dreams. So I will leave with this. Revisit your relationship. Sit down with your significant other and write down what are the things that you're grateful for your significant other. What are the things that frustrates you? And sit down, talk about it without getting emotions involved, meaning turning into an argument. That's the last thing you need. And figure out what you both can do to conquer your relationship if you're in a challenging relationship. That would just be one advice. I am a life and business coach, and I have a lot of clients in relationships that they're on the verge of either starting divorce, they're going to get a divorce, or they just don't know what to do anymore. Again, I'm super excited for part 2. Stay tuned. I hope this episode was inspiring to you all. With gratitude, Nancy Davidson. Thank you for listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rating and review, and share it with a friend. To connect with me and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow me on Instagram at EmpowerWithNancy and visit my website, https://empowerwithnancy.com to learn more about how coaching with me can significantly enhance your life and business. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day. See you next time.